So, as for the question, would I recommend the book? Yes. Hi everyone, my name is Tara Westwell and today is Tuesday, which means it's time to discuss our Panic at the Book Club book of the week, which is The Last Murder at the End of the World by Stuart Turton. If you like romance, fantasy, or even thriller, basically anything fiction book related, then I suggest you head on over to the channel's intro video, where you can find out more information on how you can take part in this online book club. We list the next 4 books down below along with the discussion dates. That way you can choose the genre that best suits you, and the best time frame to read it in. We also accept your bookish feedback in a wide manner of ways. Post your comment below a video, send in a voice note, or even send me a short video clip of you discussing the book. Alternatively, you can just send me a direct message. Solve a murder to save what's left of the world. Outside of the island, there is nothing. A world destroyed by a fog that swept the planet, killing everything it touched. On the island, it's idyllic. 122 villagers and 3 scientists living in perfect harmony. The villagers are content to fish, farm, obey their nightly curfew, and do as they're told by the scientists. Until, to the absolute horror of the islanders, one of their beloved scientists is found brutally stabbed to death. They learn that the murder triggers a lowering in their security system around the island, which is the only thing keeping the fog at bay. If the murder isn't solved within 92 hours, the fog will smother the island and everyone on it. But the security system has also wiped everyone's memories of exactly what happened the night before, which means someone on the island is a murderer and they don't even know it. First, we'll discuss any spoiler-free points before moving on to a clearly marked section of the video, which will contain spoilers and more specifics about the book. It wouldn't be a Panic at the Book Club episode if we didn't start with those chapter lengths now, would it? The chapter lengths were wildly inconsistent. I mean, a lot of them were really short and others were around a 10-minute or so read, but in fairness, not many of them were much more than that. Although, yes, I do have a physical copy of the book, and a stunning copy at that, I found myself with an extremely busy week, and therefore I read this one as an audiobook. I don't know if it was due to the book itself, or because it was an audiobook, but I did find myself struggling to keep up with it at times. I have been finding it particularly difficult to pay attention to audiobooks this last month or so, so it could just be that. I do go through stages where I listen to tons of audiobooks, and then other times where I tend to prefer physical books or ebooks. That being said, there was a ton going on with this book. I mean, there were loads of characters, loads of information, lots of twists and turns, and of course, many secrets revealed. Not a single character could be trusted, and in all honesty, despite my struggling attention span this week, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was not at all what I was expecting. It was this really interesting kind of sci-fi dystopian future with a whodunit element on a deadline. It's not exactly something that I would consider a fast-paced book. However, the story was constantly progressing and moving along with new theories and suspects that it constantly keeps you guessing and coming up with your own theories. If I had to compare it to any of the books, it would probably be something like Daisy Darker and maybe Clara and the Sun. It was an interesting perspective into this dystopian future, while still also being a classic whodunit. Your opinions on characters will change constantly, and you'll be chasing answers other than whodunit. In my opinion, I think it was a fantastic ending. Although I did really enjoy the book throughout, I never really felt too invested. That is until the ending drew me in. It was much faster paced. And when I say ending, I probably mean around the last 30 to 40%. We've now reached that section of the video where I suggest if you haven't read this book yet, go do that first, because beyond this point there will definitely be spoilers. Was it just me, or was everyone just so mean to Emery? I mean, damn, how long of the book did it take for her own dad to have any faith in her? I really love it when a book does a good job of making you doubt and suspect everyone, including that main character or the hero character. I think it did a very good job, especially later on. I mean, who didn't have a reason to be the killer? And perhaps I should have twigged a little earlier on about some things. I mean, we do learn pretty early on that the villagers don't even really seem to understand the concept of murder, and they wouldn't even be comfortable with a thriller book. But there were exceptions to that, and as the book was obviously leading to the point that these villagers do in fact develop and evolve. Nieme's example of this was the music, and I think the book did a really good job of subtly showing the reader that actually the best example of this throughout the whole book, and not just the end, was in fact Emery. You know, these beings are supposed to be happy to serve and be as a part of a community, basically do everything they're told by these scientists above all else. But from a very young age, Emery was questioning that. You know, she asked questions, and then as she grew up, she continued to ask questions. She was interested in understanding and learning, but could also see the wrongness in what was happening before she even really knew what was happening. You know, this person who was supposed to just be content in farming crops and doing as they were told and being a part of the community ended up practically becoming a damn detective. I think it opens up an interesting discussion on the future and sentient AI beings. If that was to happen, how society would react and how people would treat those beings. I mean, Alexa doesn't even have to have a face for me to accidentally thank it for setting my timer. So I could see some potential there on if I knew it was a sentient being and it walked around like me and talked like me and looked like me, then maybe all could be fine. However, this human versus other concept isn't exactly new. So I could also see how that could end disastrously. I do think that it was the right ending for the book. I mean, it wasn't a bam, surprise ending like a lot of whodunit books often are, but I really liked how it led you down all those conclusions throughout the book while still having many twists and turns and surprises along the way. Personally, I'm not sure how it could have been a better ending for this book. So, as for the question, would I recommend the book? Yes. There wasn't exactly anything specifically wrong with the book, but it wasn't my favourite writing style. I mean, I love books with preferably one point of view and a limited amount of characters, mostly because I suck with names, but this book just wasn't that. I'm also not great with slower paced books, and although it did jump into things pretty quickly and the last half was much faster paced, it was a little bit slow for me in the beginning. So, although I would in fact recommend the book, and I did really enjoy it, I wouldn't rate it 5 stars simply because of those preferences. And will I be reading any more of Stuart Turton? I think if the right sort of book came along that sounded like my cup of tea, then absolutely. And although I will be keeping my eye out for any of his future releases, I'm not sure that he's made it to my automatic buy list yet. But let me know what you thought. Did you enjoy the book?
Shelley said, I loved this book. The chapter lengths, the characters, the plot twist. I just loved it. First, this is a different sort of book for me to read, yet I'm pleasantly surprised with how I enjoyed and invested my time getting to know each of the characters, and how they all fit together in this strange but interesting story. I didn't foresee the villagers not being human at all. I got sucked in and believed exactly what I was meant to. I learned about the future of the elders and the villagers as the author intended, and I loved it. I loved Imori's questioning of life. I'm sure we could all do with a little bit more of that in us. I love how Abby drip-fed information when required, and how Naomi wanted to change. I loved the read, and as bonus, the book is so very pretty.
Next week, we're discussing The X Talk by Rachel Lynn Solomon. So don't forget to get your comments and thoughts in by Monday the 1st of July at the latest to be a part of the discussion. You can now do this on YouTube, TikTok or Instagram. The following week will be The Left Hand of Darkness, but don't forget, if you do need a little bit longer to read a book, we do now list the next 4 books down below, along with the discussion dates. That way you can choose a genre that best suits you, and the best time frame to read it in. Thank you all for joining, and if you like this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, it's always appreciated, and I will see you next week. Bye!